and welcome to another episode of the Microsoft Spotlight. Today it's just me because Sophie's away on holiday and John's just come back from holiday and he is jet lagged in the office somewhere trying to find a meeting room, so hopefully he might join us. But until then, Holly, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Yes, so obviously you've been voted and nominated to be on this episode by Sophie and a few other people we've mentioned, so who are friends of this podcast and share us out quite regularly.
Yeah, I've always been a bit scared though, so I've I don't know, just put off doing it. But finally, I think once Peter Rising tagged me, I thought, oh, I better go on it now.
So there's nothing to be scared of. So, like as I said before, we're recording this episode. This is just a general, free-flowing conversation, just talking about you and your career, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to put a spotlight. We love using that word. I ain't used that for a while on the people that basically join us as guests. So, want to tell us a bit about yourself, what you're currently doing?
Yeah. So currently, I work for a company called CPS, Corporate Project Solutions. I'm actually one of their M365 technical architects. I only joined them 3 months ago, so I'm still relatively new and finding my feet. But CPS primarily sell Microsoft services and help companies with their digital transformation. So it's a relatively small company, especially compared to other companies that I've worked at. But it's also, they won a Microsoft Gold partner, and Microsoft always recommend them to other customers and things to, for us to come in and deliver things, especially around the new technologies like Viva and Viva Goals and a lot of things that companies are interested in and want to try and roll out. So yeah, I seem to be getting a lot of opportunities around Viva at the minute, and things like the mobile device management and Intune. I tend to do a lot of stuff around that and the security aspects of 365. So I have a lot of variety in this job. So I really like that.
It can't be a bit of variety. So I'm a person where, I like taking on new challenges. If it's not new, then it kind of gets a bit mundane and, you do get a little bit bored. Obviously, we're working with, Microsoft technologies on a daily basis. You always find there's always something new to play with and something to mess around with.
Every day something changes and a button moves.
Yes, a button
and then
moves,
it throws off your demo or whatever you try to click here and the button's gone and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do regular calls with one of my customers where we go through the Microsoft roadmap and all the different things are basically thrown as there. And like, yes, how are you meant to keep up with this when there's like 10 items being released a day, 20 items a day before? So, it's a struggle in our space, but, it's what keeps us going and keeps us happy.
You're the type of person that doesn't like change. You can't work in anything to do with IT or Microsoft because it's just not going to suit you if you're really not into change. But you have to get comfortable with change, I suppose.
Definitely. So going back to the very beginning, so let's talk about where you started in the world of IT, like from like a school age up into present day. So like, what got you, interested in IT and a role as a woman in tech?
I'm going to blame my dad. So I genuinely, I've always had a passion for technology ever since my dad brought home this like Acorn PC with Windows 95. And then I think we got Encarta. So that was before we had obviously Google and Wikipedia and things. And I got to actually
going back some years. That is now. I used to love Encarta.
Yeah,
That's one of the just going on it, just searching for random things. All that, yeah. Listen to that.
I know. I used to spend hours and hours on that program learning just about anything and everything, and I absolutely loved that. And then that sort of transpired because then I excelled really well at IT and graphics at school, whereas the other subjects not so much. I didn't go to university. I tried college, but I'm just at that point just not a very academic person. I just wanted to get stuck in and do something. I ended up doing what most sort of late teens do and getting sort of retail jobs. But when I hit about 18, I really wanted to get into IT, but I just didn't know where to start or what to do. I ended up getting like a temp job as a sort of an admin, just in an office, thinking this will pay the bills, put me on a little bit, and I can decide what I want to do. And at that point, I decided to pay to do some IT courses at the local college. So again, this was in Server 2003, Windows XP, this kind of stuff.
Running on what's it, Windows NT workstations. Yes, we've
a
all
bit
been
newer
there.
than that. But yeah, so I've decided to pay for these courses. So I was kind of working during the day and then going to college on a night. And at this point, this company where I was temping at, their IT manager found out because I was talking to him about that I was doing these IT courses. And he basically put me in touch with their finance director and said, why don't you come do some IT for us? And we'll pay for your courses as a thank you. So just because that happened, that was literally my into IT. So I ended up there working alongside the IT manager and basically going up and down the country, fixing PCs, fixing servers, installing networking cables into Office, literally anything to do with IT or anything that had a plug. I just had to learn how to deal with it. And it were brilliant and great fun, really good fun. But I think as time went on, I realised that if I stayed in that job, I'd still be in that job in 10 years' time. There were no progression, there were nowhere to go because it was such a small company. It was just the IT manager and me. They didn't need any more than that. So I think at that point, that's when I was like, what's my next step? Or what, but where do I go from here? So I started looking for some sort of IT technician roles because that's essentially what I was doing. And I actually ended up getting a role at the University of Leeds as an IT technician. So I worked there in various different roles, working across different departments and some of the STEM faculties, and just getting loads of experience around how working in a really large organisation and different departments and, PCs that hooked up to £8 million microscopes and all this kind of stuff. It was really, really interesting. But weirdly, at the same time as I was doing that and enjoying it, I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do long term. And I actually ended up, one of my friends was getting married and she was looking, this is really strange, she was looking to buy some wedding invitations and she showed me this wedding invite and she was like, oh, these are what I'm going to buy for my wedding. And I looked at it and I said, I could make this for you. And she said, well, how? And I was like, well, I just feel like if I buy the stuff, I'll be able to make this for you and I'll actually make it a bit better. So she trusted me and I ended up setting my own business, making bespoke wedding stationery. So all handmade. And that was actually really successful. And I won quite a lot of awards for my invitation design. I was in a lot of the papers and stuff. But juggling working full time and running the business was really difficult. And I was finding I was taking days off work, holiday to work. So at this point, it was quite a big like a decision point in my life where it was, do I stay in tech, which I love, but I also really liked doing this wedding stationery business, and I was good at it and successful at it. But I had to in the end sort of go with my gut instinct, and it was that I needed to stop the business and search for whatever it's meant to be in tech that I was meant to be doing, because and also it's hard work working for yourself, really hard work. And I think I'm just not that type of person. I think long term, I'm happier working for someone else, making them money as long as they're paying me money.
Of course, that's the main goal for everything, isn't it?
Yeah, well, actually, I know it's not for everyone. Some people would rather go make their own money, and that's fine. But it's not for me. I've decided it's not for me. So, after 5 years, I wound down that business, and I still miss it in a way. But I'm glad I've done it and tried it. And obviously, when the pandemic hit, I was really glad I didn't do that because I literally would have had no work for 2 years. So
yeah, I understand that because I got married last year. And we were meant to get married the year of COVID. And my wife literally sat there and made all our wedding invitations. They were absolutely amazing. They were spot on. And then it was like COVID hit, delayed for like 2 years. And then she got me to make them all over again. I was like, can't we just buy something? We made them once and sent them out. Can't we just buy something? But no, made all these invitations again. But now it sounds like
not ideal.
Nah, it weren't ideal at all. But very much sounds like your IT career is similar to mine. I mean, I went to college, didn't really enjoy college. I'm not an academic person whatsoever, even though I've got an MCT status up there. But it just wasn't for me. So I ended up going to an apprenticeship, and in that apprenticeship, I was doing hands-on IT in a private hospital. So I was quite fortunate that the guy that I was working for was basically like my dad. He'd literally give me a kick up the arse, tell me what I needed to do, call me the T-boy and everything. I'd had great banter with him, but he's a person that put me on the straight and narrow. I had to leave that place because the change of outsourcing IT, ended up going to a similar place to what you were, where I was traveling up and down the country. In my respect, I was helping opticians, so I was going to local opticians with all the different machinery that you get tested with, and making sure they're all connected to the network, the printers, all running Windows embedded, making sure they're running properly. And it's like, I'm not going to really progress anywhere. So I ended up going to a company that's probably well known now in the UK, a company called HomeServe, which is like literally a stone throw from where I live now. And from there, that's where I got into desktop, and then learned networking, and then decided, well, I'm going to do a bit of both, and end up, just progressing my career from there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like everyone's story of how they got into IT is completely different, and a lot of people end up going into it by accident or falling into it, and yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, so I've always knew that I wanted a career in IT ever since I started playing Doom on Windows 95. Going around to my nan's house, my uncle let me go his PC. That's it. I'm playing Doom, even though it's like an 18. I was like, a youngster. I'm like, yeah, I like computers, but now it's something that I always thought I'd end up doing. So it's something that I very much drove myself to, and I've created a career for myself out of it.
No, that's really good. So when I was at the university, and I'd given up my business, and I was back doing my IT technician role. It got to a point where I think I had a manager where I just felt they were really unhelpful, and I genuinely went away most nights going, I could do their job better. Like, this is just not. It was really frustrating. And essentially, a job got advertised, internal only, to be an IT leader. So I went to my manager and I said, I want to apply for this job. And he said, oh, if I were you, I'd have a chat with the hiring manager. I don't think you'll be what they want. So I said, okay, fine, I'll have a chat with the hiring manager. So I had a chat with the hiring manager, and he was absolutely lovely. But a bit of red tape, internal processes, meant that I had to also speak to my manager's manager and get his permission to allow me to also apply for the job.
Yep.
So I couldn't get in touch with the hiring manager, and the job was due to close. I'd filled in all the application form, and I genuinely felt confident, and I wanted to apply for this role. So 4:45, I was actually going on holiday the next day. So I submitted my application, and I sent the manager an email and said, I've not been able to get in touch with you. I am applying for this role. And I left it there, and I went off on holiday for 2 weeks. When I came back, I noticed that at 5:05 that same day, I had an email from him telling me not to apply for the job because I wouldn't get it. And I have that in writing.
No way.
Yeah, I have that in writing. And anyway, I got a job interview, and I went to the job interview, and I was offered the job. So I went from being sort of an IT technician into this leadership role, and it was amazing, and a very steep learning curve, going from, just being sort of looking after yourself and going around and picking jobs out of a queue and fixing PCs, into having a team of people that you need to pull together, and a list of services that you also need to manage as well. But I loved it, absolutely loved it. I was actually nominated for a One to Watch award at the Leeds Digital Festival in 2019.
Okay.
So yeah, so that tells me I was doing something right at that time, because I was new to it, and I was being nominated for awards as well. I actually got the opportunity as well to do a degree apprenticeship in leadership. So I feel like I was on this journey all of a sudden of like a fast track journey to be sort of like a senior female IT leader, which genuinely is where my heart is saying I should be and need to be and want to be. So I really loved that role. And I also got offered another role looking after one of the more notoriously harder teams to manage, shall we say. So I moved on to do that instead. And yeah, ended up sort of responsible for Microsoft 365 services at the university, which is where the Microsoft my love for 365 came in, because all of a sudden there was this brand new service that needed properly implementing, supporting. There were no technical team supporting it or anything. There were no documentation, no one had been trained. It was just, here's 365, it's turned on, off you go. And I also had the opportunity to roll out Teams, because obviously Teams was new back in 2018, and yeah, we looked to roll that out. So I sort of spearheaded the rollout of Teams across the university to all the staff. And then obviously we got to the point where there were a pandemic, and we needed to all of a sudden allow 45,000 students and 15,000 staff to work from home. So we had to really quickly roll out Teams for students as well. So I got the opportunity to do that. One of the other opportunities I got was to work with the NHS to help them with their Teams rollout, as well as a bit of a consultancy piece of work. And that was amazing, just being able to talk to them about my experiences, what went wrong with the Teams rollout, what went well, Team sprawl, because it happened. We had a data breach. There were all sorts of things that I learned from that I can then, and I still use now, to apply to other companies to help them make sure they don't fall into them same traps and mistakes. So yeah, I've gone off on a little bit of a tangent there, but yeah, I feel like at that point I felt like I was on this trajectory, I can't say that word, or this roller coaster of I had my job for life as such, and if I stayed there, I could be their CTO, I could be their IT director, whatever I wanted to be, I could be, and I felt supported that I was going to get that, and I thought that that was it for me, and I was sorted. So I actually got a mentor, an external mentor, so someone who didn't know me, never met them before. And the idea of that was to work on my confidence, because I wasn't very good at selling myself or believing in what I can do. So like now, today, it might come across like I'm talking to you quite confidently about my achievements and what I've done. I wouldn't have been able to do that because I just didn't have the ability to take a compliment or know how to, yeah, I just didn't have that confidence, I suppose. So this external mentor came along, and the first question he asked me was, why do you work in tech? Why can't you go do this job somewhere else? Go be a leader somewhere else? And honestly, I went away and I think I had about 2 or 3 nights of feeling, I don't know, I just didn't sleep, because I was like, how dare he say that I shouldn't work in IT? Like, I want to work in IT. So yeah, working with that mentor was absolutely amazing, and we came to a very solid conclusion that I want to work in tech and stay in tech, and that's okay, and that's good, and that's what I want to do. One of the other things that this mentor got me to do was, he asked me why I couldn't go to that next leadership level now. Why was I just happy staying at the level that I was? So he gave me this secret mission, not so secret now, but a secret mission. And he told me to go out and find 5 jobs that I thought were out of reach, that I wouldn't get if I applied, and just bring them back to him. But in between him telling me that and me next speaking to him, I went off on a bit of a tangent, and I actually applied for 5 roles. Out of those 5 roles, I got 4 job interviews, and I got 2 job offers.
Not bad going, that's all.
So my mentor was, as you can tell, he was a bit shocked, I think, when I said to him, he was like, "Show me the 5 roles," and I'm like, "Oh no, I've applied. I've actually got 2 job offers." Yeah, to be fair, I wasn't expecting that either, and I wasn't planning on leaving the university. That was my job for life. This was just a little mission, just to see what happened, and the plan was that working with the mentor, he would help me learn to sell myself and build my confidence. But somehow, I don't know if it's the conversations that I'd had with him previously, but I just felt like I should just go for it, and I had nothing to lose. So I obviously did okay because because of the outcome. But interestingly, go on, John, sorry.
I'll say, yeah, definitely worth it, isn't it? A good experience. Anyway, hi everyone. I've joined the conversation a little bit late.
He's here. Straight after
all the way from Florida, from Mickey Mouse to Holly Rae. So hi.
Not much difference. But yeah, sorry, John, I've kept you waiting there for ages, waffling on.
That's all right. I was just in late to the conversation. Don't know whereabouts we are at with the story, but I was just checking LinkedIn.
So we're just going through job history, mate. You know, as we do. We've still got another jobs two jobs to go through, so we're still there.
My story's nearly
getting there.
But yeah, so out of these 2 jobs that I got offered, one of them was actually not the job I applied for. So they actually said to me, you know, "You've applied for a job, but we actually think you'd be better suited to be an M365 architect, for a solution architect for us." And I'd gone to an agent, and I said to the agent, "Oh no, I don't want to be an architect. No thanks, I'm not interested," because there was no line management responsibility, and it was a full-time tech role as such. So I actually went back to my mentor, and he said, "Did you look at the job description?" I said, "No, I don't need to look at the job description. I don't want to be an architect." And he said, "Well, you've got nothing to lose. Why don't you at least look at the job description?" Genuinely, I read this job description and went, "This job sounds awesome."
Yeah.
And actually, it was more money than the original job I applied for. I didn't have responsibility of line managing anyone. And I think at this point, I was starting to realise that I was feeling a bit burnt out, but I'd not recognised it. So when I accepted the job to go be a solution architect for Clarinet, I was going in there with the mindset knowing I was giving up this apprenticeship degree that I'd been doing, and I was 2 years into. And I was also going to have to not line manage anyone, and then try and figure out on my career what that meant, because so Clarinet offered me this job, and I started there knowing I was giving up my degree, and I was also giving up the line management responsibility. But at this point, I was also moving house into an house that needed full refurbishment, and there were a lot going on personally, and I just felt that actually maybe it was the right time, and just to step back for a little bit and recompose myself. So at that point, I joined Clarinet, and I realised very quickly that I was suffering burnout, and I was in this. I realised not until I'd left that I'd been rewarded for like wearing a medal for how many hours you worked, how stressed you were, who didn't have a lunch break, you know, no such thing as a lunch break, all the things that are not good. But it took me to leave and look back on that and reflect on it and realise that that was not healthy and not good. So from day one, when I joined Clarinet, I made sure I put an hour lunch break in my diary. My contract said I got an hour lunch. I was putting it in my diary.
Yeah,
and I think I also realised that it's not life and death either. So if you're giving
that's one of the first things I'd done. When I'd literally just joined a new company. The first thing I'd done was put in a lunch break every single day for an hour.
Yeah.
Saying do not book.
It's really easy to slip into that, letting people override your lunch break. And I've noticed it more. People, especially that have been at a company a long time, they're more likely to be the people that are happy to not have a break and things. Whereas I've just realised about the importance of setting boundaries. and looking after my own mental health and well-being. So to me, that hour every day, my contract says I get it, I'm having it, and I shouldn't feel guilty about that either. And I think more people probably need to think about that as well, because I think I've also realised that, you know, if something happened and I left, or my job would just get re-advertised. I can't be replaced at home that easy.
No, and the whole mental health thing, taking time for yourself, such a big thing now. Sorry, I am still here, but I'm my desk was over there, and I'm running out of battery, so I'm just running over to get a charger.
So I do some. I mean, I put like the school run into my diary, so I literally,
so do I.
when I know that I've got to do the school run, it's basically blocked out. So people don't book calls. People try and book calls, but I just don't book tentative. You know, depending on how important it is. But you know, you've got to have. I mean, you've got to organise your diary in such a way where it works for you, not other people.
I couldn't agree more, and I just think that it's too easy to slip back into that. And I think I actively work really hard now to make sure I'm always prioritising my own health and well-being over, you know, if someone gives a piece of work to do and they've given you 8 hours to do it in and it don't get done, as long as I can justify that, I think that's okay. And I can say, well, it didn't get done for these reasons, so actually enough time wasn't allocated to it. Or it might be, you know, if you've got an appointment or something you need to go do, school run, that kind of thing, I can then know that I could work on that later when I choose to. It's not, it's all about boundaries, I think, and just making sure that it needs to work for your workplace. I totally understand that, but it also needs to work for you. And I think all these things I've learned, I'd never go back to an environment where I was, where, like I say, you were getting these medals for essentially burning yourself out. It's not healthy, and you know, it's just not a nice thing, and I don't think a lot of people recognise it until it's too late.
I think a lot of things you've got to do.
Yeah, I think a lot of things you've got to do. You've got to work at your own pace. So your own pace could be back-to-back meetings and all of this stuff, which might be good for certain people, but for others like myself, I can't do that. Like I could do that for a day, and that's about it. And then after that, it's just about kind of doing things at the pace that I'm okay at, and having time booked in to do stuff such as people coming into the office. I found like a little quiet office where there was when no one was. Like, it's starting to fill up. It's Thursday. But it's doing things at your own pace and having time booked in for lunches, for school runs, for time to do content, to do blogs and stuff like that. And going from a new company. I mean, I think you've just started at CPS, haven't you? So I've
you missed that bit at the beginning.
It's just kind of getting used to how different companies work. It's just mad. I've been I was at CDW for 8 years previously, so I was very much used to how that was, and it's just getting used to different companies. For me, it's quite hard, to be fair. It's very hard.
Yeah, I felt because I went from obviously a small company originally to a public sector massive company to a private company that was relatively, well, I thought it was small, but then I've joined CPS and that's really small. So it's every company works completely different, and it's not a bad thing, and it's actually quite good to get experience of these different companies. And you find that obviously the bigger the company is, the more red tape and departments and people you need to go through to get things done.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot less of that. I've gone from CDW, which is a £2.3 billion company in the UK, and 20 billion worldwide, to Civilian, who are a lot smaller. So it's different. And the thing is, as you said, things can get done quicker, and there's less red tape. The decision needs to be made. It could be made. I think there's 2 levels to the CEO above me. So
it's a much more flat structure.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's nice in some ways, and different in others. I'm not gonna say bad in others. It's hard to say bad yet. I've only been here for a month, but it's different in others. So we've got to get used to it.
You have to settle in. I said at the beginning, I've only been at CPS 3 months, so I'm still feel like I'm finding my feet and how things work, and everyone says you go through that change curve, and it probably takes 6 months to properly settle into a new place. So I'm halfway there now. So
Yeah. Well, I've been here for a month now, and 2 of it I've been in Florida. So everyone's like, "Oh, how's your third month been?" I've technically been here 2 weeks. The other 2 weeks I was running around Disney Park. So
There's worse things to be doing, John. Really is.
Oh man, I'm so tired. I need another holiday.
that's not good.
But you get to another conference, don't you, John? Just have a bit of a holiday.
Oh yeah, I don't know about that. Don't know about that. When I come back from a conference, you feel even more tired again. So it's just, yeah, I think it's that thing of burnout. People say called burnout. I don't know. I think I should be burnt out. It probably is for how I feel, but keep going.
It's recognizing it, isn't it, and knowing what things you can put in place to make sure you don't get to that level where you literally can't physically work or even get out of bed, because that's just not a nice place to be.
No.
So the one thing as well, though, obviously you've come to the role now of an architect. You don't really see many female architects. I know there's a couple at CPS, but generally in the UK, there's not many that I can name off the top of my head that I know of.
No,
you got Kat works with you, doesn't she?
Yeah, Kat works for me. So yeah, Kat's actually Kat's now my line manager, in fact. So yeah, it's
I saw that promotion recently.
Yeah, but yeah, Kat. In there's not many females in tech in general, and we're only about, I think, 16 or 17% of the overall population of the IT sector, but there is definitely more and more women getting into it. And I think as well, it's a lot of people don't realise that in tech that are not technical. So as much as I'm in a technical role, but there's also lots of roles where you don't need to be technical to work in those roles, and a lot more women are getting into them type of roles now. But I'd love to see more female architects. Love to, and I know Kat would as well. It's anything we can do to try and promote that, we do, and we are trying to.
Yeah, that's something I'm trying to do within my own organisation at Fujitsu, is try and get more females in technical roles. Say I work in an all-male team, so it'd be nice to have that diversity of having females in there as well, because obviously, it's a more well-rounded team. It's a better conversation, and just, different ideas as well.
You find you get different perspectives, having a mix. I was very fortunate at the university when I was building out the 365 team that I was able to hire people, and I ended up with a 50-50 mix team. So half the team was female, half the team was male, and then as time went on, actually, we got some more BAME, and also we had my brain's just stopped working now. Non-binary, sorry. So yeah, we also had a non-binary person join the team as well. So it really helped me see the value of having different people and cultures and opinions in a team really make a really good success of a service. I mean, that team's now, I think they've got, as of today, I think they've got 12 in that team now, still going really strong. And I think I'm really proud that I were part of building those foundations and putting that team in place to support such an important service, especially to an organisation of that size.
Awesome. It's wicked. So in Fujitsu, it's like I'm really trying to, get more male allies on board within the business, because I think it's something that we need to help, obviously, build up our female colleagues and to get them into the roles that we want to see them in. Because a lot of the main head roles within the business are run by females. I mean, my boss's direct manager is a female, and also our head of finance and a few other heads as well, all females as well. So it's good that there is that pathway there for women to go to the higher level. But we still need to do more internally. We still need to do more.
It doesn't have to be leadership. It doesn't have to be women coming in and being managers. It like you said, it can be these actual technical roles and getting hands-on and learning. But I suppose it's just very difficult for
aspirations, doesn't it? Really, that's the thing. People may want to stay technical, I mean, I always thought I would stay technical. I end up, going becoming an architect and being less technical and having that, million and one different phone calls every single day with customers. But it very much depends on what you've got one career, you've got one life. It depends what you want to achieve in that time, really. So
I think everybody, as well, like me especially, I thought that your career was, you started here and it just went up and up and up and up and up. And actually, the more that time's gone on, and the more I learn as you mature and become older, and I think I've learned that it's not just about going up. Sometimes taking a sidestep or a down, or it's more like a bit of a cliche roller coaster, because it needs to be that to make you more of a rounded person and to understand and appreciate. And you also then figure out what you do and don't like doing. Because if you're going into a job every single day and you hate it and it doesn't get you out of bed and you don't like what you're doing, well, why are you doing it? Why not
Go find another one.
Well, I try and say to people, what's your passion? What gets you up and out of bed? And why can't you do that as a career? Something around that, or what skills does that? What a lot of people have transferable skills and they just don't notice, or they think that you have to just, you're in a job and you're in it. But I think, like I say, the older I get, the more I realise that if you're not happy or you don't like what you're doing, or another opportunity presents itself, what have you got to lose?
Well, I think that's just any job in general, like not even IT. It's just my wife works in HR, and before she said how she doesn't like a job. I was like, well, don't do it then. Go and do something else. Find something that you like and just do it. Like, it doesn't, like, there's no point going to a job every day and not enjoying it. Like,
you spend too much time at work to not enjoy it, I think. Yeah.
Go and do something. Go to do something that you actually enjoy, because that's when you're going to be more productive and not worrying about it. If you spend like all your time not working, worry about going to work the next day, then there's no point. Go do something else.
It improves your home life as well, being happy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And my wife's a worrier. Like a lot of people are. And a worrier, and everything's a worry the next day, and everything like that. So don't spend all your time. Don't spend all your time worrying about what you're going to do the next day. Just go and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that at all. I think it's really important. But yeah, and some people think that the career they've fallen into, they have to stay in that as well, and it's just not true. It's no, and you've got nothing to lose, have you, by trying?
We've had far too many guests in this show that have had career changes and halfway through their careers as well, to show that it does work, and you don't have to have a career change and then just be at the low point of that industry that you change into. You can go and become a kick-ass leader in that section as well. So yeah. we've seen it all, I think, Andrew, haven't we?
We have indeed. So now we've spoken a lot about the present, the past. So what's the future hold for Holly? We are coming close to our run time, so tell us what the future holds for you now.
So one of my conditions when I joined CPS was that I wanted to pick back up my degree. So I'm now in my final year of my leadership apprenticeship degree programme. So in this time next year, I'll be done, hopefully, and I'll also have a chartered management status, as well as a degree, because I don't have a degree currently. Not that it's stopped me getting where I am, but potentially it could stop me in the future from applying for certain roles or going to certain jobs because I don't have that bit of paper. I have actually seen plenty of jobs where I can't apply because I don't have that. So for me, it's worth doing, and I'm glad that I've spent the time doing it, and I've just got to push through this next year of working and trying to do the degree at the same time. And
that's quite funny, actually. Sorry. Like, it's just conversations me and Andrew have had with different people in it's like typically in episodes gone by, typically when a male looks at a job description and they see kind of needs like degree type thing.
Yeah.
Even if I haven't got one, men are more typically will more typically apply for that role even if they haven't got it.
Yeah.
Whereas
I look at the essential criteria and I go, it's essential, and I don't have that, so I can't do it.
Yeah. Well, I'd
Yeah.
apply for
Nah,
it
for
anyway.
me, some of it, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm just got to apply.
I'd still apply for that, and yeah, I'd still apply for it. And it's just something that we've spoke quite a lot about on this show. And I think we had a guest, I think last January, not January just gone, January before, and it was who was it? Blonde lady from Hertfordshire area. She used to play for the Arsenal women's team. We spoke a lot about it.
What's her name now? Oh, you know what? I've actually saw her on LinkedIn recently because she's been with one of our other guests, Jonah Anderson. Oh,
Yes, hang on. So if you're listening to this podcast and you want to hear Ellie King,
Ellie King,
yeah.
that's it.
So if you want to look at that and talk about and listen to her insights on like applying for jobs and job descriptions and stuff, that's a really good one to go back and listen to, because we spoke about it quite in depth, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
I find it really interesting, and especially as I've been in positions of being the hiring manager, and how important it is about that essential criteria and making sure, is it actually essential, or are you just saying that, and making sure that, you know, your desirables can be whatever you want, but your essentials, you'll potentially put certain people off or cut a whole section of people out from even applying, potentially, depending on what you put in that essential. But
I think also the biggest thing is personality fit. If your personality doesn't fit the company, the way they operate, then you know you're not going to get in the door really.
No.
So you may
and
not
you
have
to think
all
you
the
need to
essential
interview
skills.
them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works both ways. But I've only joined CPS, like I say, 3 months ago. So and I'm doing my degree. I still, in my gut, feel that leadership is where I'm meant to be, especially in IT. So watch this space. But yeah, I'd like to think that in 10 years I'll be an IT director or a CTO, or I want to see at that top table, and I will get it.
The thing is, though, it does happen. You know what I mean? We had Anna Michelson from Microsoft. She was just a product marketing manager for Microsoft Teams. She's now the CTO of Microsoft in Austria. So she's moved back from the States, back over to Europe. That's where she's originally from. And now she's the CTO and always puts about on LinkedIn. So, you know,
Amazing.
It is possible in organisations, just, you know, finding that pathway when it comes.
It is. Like I say, I've not had that straight up career, but I don't think you need that. And I think it's taking that step back these last few years and step away from the leadership side has actually done me the world of good, and I've learned a lot about myself, and I think overall that'll make me a better leader in the future.
Awesome. Well, so we're very much close to running time. So John, do you want to throw in your usual questions at the end?
No, because I've got no time. I've got a meeting in 2 minutes.
That's good. I didn't want one.
That's fine, you know. That's still got 3 minutes, John, you know. But nah, that's fair enough. Yes. Well, Holly, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. I say, you know, it's always nice to interview guests and different people and meet new people. So thank you for sharing your story with us today. And I say, I just spoke at the very start, it just seemed a bit similar to my career path, how I got into IT. So it's always nice to hear, you know, how people got to where they are.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for having me. I'm glad I've finally bit the bullet and done it after everyone were telling me I should.
So it's not scary at all, is it really?
No, it's not. I just hope people don't think I've waffled on.
Nah, it's all good.
That's what podcasts afford. That's what podcasts afford. To be fair, to waffle on.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'd be very short.
Very true. Very true.
Exactly. Right, and everyone, it's been a pleasure. I will see you all next time. Holly, hopefully we'll see you at an event, hopefully in the future.
I'm sure
So,
you will.
I'm sure me and John are going to be at the South Coast Summit. I've submitted a session again for that. So, you know, if we do a panel, maybe we'll get you on that.
Awesome.
And John, go and get some sleep after you've done work in the office.
So tired.
Take care, guys.
I'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. See you all. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Microsoft Spotlight podcast. Please make sure you hit that like, share and subscribe button to help us promote our message. You can also follow us on Twitter at MSFT Spotlight, and we're also on LinkedIn, the Microsoft Spotlight podcast. And finally, we'd like to tell you a little bit about BitTitan and thank them for sponsoring this podcast.
Remote migrations start here. Let Migration Wiz do the work for you. It's fast, secure, and 100% SaaS, which means you can migrate at any time and from anywhere. Migrate mailboxes, documents, public folders, personal archives, or even Microsoft Teams with just a few clicks. No special training needed and no customer downtime. When the work matters, choose MigrationWiz.